So this is super practical when it comes to, like if you're doing your life project, you know about mortgages and investments and, all that loans that you have to pay back. So how does debt grow? Okay, all the complicated formulas that the credit card companies and the banks are doing, let's figure out how that all works. So the first one we need to talk about is something called APY. It stands for annual. Annual always implies 1 year. Percentage yield. Okay, the formula for APY is as follows. 1 plus R over N to the NT. You've seen that before, yes? That part of it, that was in that compound interest formula that you did probably 6 or 7 times. But then there's minus 1. What the annual percentage yield allows you to do is to compare different accounts and to find out which one is better for you. All right, so it allows you to compare multiple accounts at the same time to figure out which one is to the best advantage for you. And you always want to find the best APY. Now, the best isn't always the lowest. It depends on what you're doing with your money. If you're investing your money, you want a high APY because that means more money for you. If you are borrowing money, you want a low APY because that means less interest for you that you have to pay. So in the situation, you have to decide, is higher or lower better for me? So let me give you an example. When it's time for you to get a student loan, okay, there's all these companies out here that are willing to loan you money. You should do some homework and figure out which, should you go with SoFi, right? SoFi, I think is the name of it. Okay, should you go with a Fannie Mae? Should you go with, what should you go with? Okay, or a Pell Grant, or, Right, so you want to compare. Should you choose a company that's offering you the following? 4% compounded monthly. These are called terms. Like we're going to offer you these terms. 4% compounded monthly or 3.9%, so a lower percent. Whoops. It's compounded, that one, sorry. The first one is compounded quarterly. Quarterly. And the second one is monthly. Which one would be better for you? And what you want to do is you want to calculate the APY for each of them and compare them. So you're going to do the first APY. And the APY would be 1 plus the percentage rate of 4%, 0.04. And because it's quarterly, we'll divide that by 4. And we're going to do it to the 4 times 1. You always do it for 1 year because it's annual. Okay, so it's always to the 1 year. And then minus 1 from that. So get your calculator out, type that in, and then tell me what you get. And go ahead and write it down. You need a calculator, Fraley. The second APY would be 1 plus a lower percentage rate of 0.039 divided by 12. That would be to the 12 times 1, and that would be minus 1. Okay, so go ahead and calculate that and write it down. And then we'll decide which one is better once I give you context of the situation. Okay. All right, Emma M., did you get one of those? Either one? Okay. Are you typing in parentheses exactly how I have it? Okay, Julia? Yep. More than that. Give me everything you've got. Okay. So make sure you are typing in your decimals right. Read, you got the second one? Okay.
0.0397047.
Okay, that's as much as I heard. Okay. So if you translate those into percentages, if you are not getting that, you're doing something wrong with your parentheses, or show me your calculator so I can figure it out. All right, if we translate that into a percent, that's going to be 4.06%. And if we translate the other one into a percent, it'll be 3.97. Now, which one is better depends on if you're borrowing or investing money. So you have to decide. If I tell you, okay, this is an investment opportunity for you, then you want to choose the larger one because that's going to be beneficial to you. If I'm telling you you're borrowing for your first car, then you want to choose the lower one. So the APY helps you make a good choice of where you want to put your money or who you want to get your loan through, depending on the context of the situation. Okay, any questions on APY? Okay, let's try the other two, those two formulas that looked fairly complicated. Okay. All right, here they are. The first one, FV equals capital R, parentheses, the APY formula that we just did. And if you don't want to write APY, you can actually write 1 plus R over N to the NT minus 1, but that's just the APY formula, all over R over N. Now notice we have a little r, which we already know what it is, but then there's a big R. Okay, this is new. We haven't had big R before, so I need to tell you what that stands for. So that's a new letter. Okay, and it stands for repeated payments. Okay, so the R stands for repeated payments. What are you going to pay on a regular basis repeatedly over and over and over again? So maybe it's your rent that's due over and over and over. It's I bought a car, you have to pay a loan over and over, or your student loans and you're paying them. It's the repeated payment that you're doing. I'll tell you about FV in just a second. All right, then we have PV. Not Palos Verdes, but just PV. That has an R in it also. It means the same thing. It's the same R. I shouldn't write. Okay. All right, the other one is the reverse of the APY. So it's 1 minus in the opposite order. 1 plus R over N, and the power is negative. And then that's over R over N. The R means the same thing for both of them. It's repeated. So what does the switch of the negative do? What does that imply? One of those is for money that you're borrowing, and one of those is for money that you're investing. Okay? So this bottom one, that's where you're borrowing money. Why? Because the power is negative and the subtraction is negative, and you are owing money. And so words like loan, mortgage, okay, debt, okay, those words are all implying that you are borrowing money. The PV, okay, the words in there stand for present value, Present, not like as in a gift, but present as in the opposite of past and before the future. Present means I need the money now. I need the money now. I don't have it, so I have to borrow it. That's when you're going to use that formula. Okay, that's what present means, is I got to have this money, and so I need to borrow it. So then the F stands for future value. That means I don't need the money now. I'm going to invest it for a future date. And so it's not borrowing, but instead it is saving or investing. So this one is for when you invest. Words that you would use for investment are saving, bonds, annuity, stocks. Okay, these are all money that imply that you're saving money. So again, choose the right formula based on the situation. Again, you'll have the formula bank to choose from. You just got to know which is which to use. So let's practice making that choice. All right, so your first example. Sarah has a 5-year loan at 4.7%, which requires her to pay $815.37 monthly. Okay, so that could be a student loan, 5 years, that's pretty normal for a student loan, 5 to 10 years. Okay, it could be a car loan perhaps, that would be really high for a car loan though, so unless she's buying a luxury vehicle or something here. How much did she borrow? Or how much is the PV, the present value? All right, so very clearly, this is a borrowing situation, so we're going to use the PV formula, and we're just going to drop all of these numbers in the right place. So you've got PV equals, the capital R is the repeated payment that she has to make, so that's where the $815.37 goes. Parentheses, in goes the 1 minus the parentheses value, so it's 1 minus 1 plus 0.047 over 12, 12 being the months and 0.047 being the rate, to the negative 12 times 5. It's important that you include that as negative, otherwise your answer will not make sense at all to you in the long run, and that whole thing has to be divided by 0.047 over 12. We're going to let the calculator do the hard work, but your job is that you have to put the parentheses in correctly. So first thing you got to do, remember, please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, we always start with parentheses. Find your interior most parentheses, which are going to be these. Okay, this one right here, and use your calculator to figure that out. All right, so that'll be the first thing you want to do. 81537. Parentheses 1 minus, and then we should be able to figure out what 1 plus 0.047 divided by 12 is. Okay, Emma, do you have that one? 1.00, keep going, 16 repeating, right? Okay. And then it's important that you figure out the power, which is negative 12 times 5, and that's negative 60. Okay, now the rest you could put all into your calculator at one time as long as you do parentheses. Please do this whole thing, putting parentheses around in the numerator where it needs to be after the negative 60. We're going to round that 6 repeating. Let's make it a 7, since 6 repeating would be rounded to 7, so we're going to do that. So 1 minus 1.003917 to the negative 60, that should all be in parentheses. The 815.37 should be not in parentheses, and then divided by 0.047 over 12, which also should be in parentheses. So type it exactly as you see it. I'm going to come up and down your rows and look at your calculator to make sure you're getting the right. All right, so this original loan was for $43,526.59. Okay, so that's something probably like a student loan. Okay, maybe for 1 year, depending on where you go. Maybe for a couple of years, depending on where you go. All right. So if you're not getting that and you can't figure out why, have me come check your calculator. All right, here's another one. Okay. Emily invests $500 a month into a mutual fund at 7.88%. How much will she have in 20 years? Okay, so she's setting money aside, maybe for retirement or something. $500 monthly. So now we're doing an investment. So this is going to be an FV because we're going to the future. We don't need the money now. We are saving for the future. So let's be an FV situation. So 500. And then we have, start with a double set of parentheses, 1 plus 0.0788 over 12 to the 12 times 20 because we're investing it for 20 years. Then a minus 1 that comes after that. It's really important that that minus 1 be outside of the one set of parentheses but still inside of another. All over set of parentheses on the bottom, which would be 0.0788 divided by 12. Okay, practice typing that into your calculator to see how much money Emily will have in her investment. Okay, so we can see that Emily will have $290,156.80 saved at the end of her 20 years. Okay, last one. Yep. Okay, Rob agrees to borrow. He needs $500,000. Okay, he wants to buy a house. So Rob agrees to borrow $500,000 and pay it back every month for 30 years, which is a very normal loan amount. Okay, it's all in the percentage, 3.75%. What will his monthly payments be? So which part of the formula am I asking you for? What will his monthly payments be? Which part of the formula am I asking you for? There's no P in our formula. R. Okay, capital R. I'm asking you for capital R this time. Not telling you what capital R. So where do you put the 500,000? Okay, you're going to put it on the, this is a present. I need the money now. And so it's going to go in the present value equation. All right, so it goes on the left side. R goes here. Sometimes students will make the mistake and they'll put the $500,000 into the R, which means that they're saying that that person is going to pay $500,000 every month on a repeated basis. Okay, I don't really know many people who can afford that. All right, so here we go. 1 minus parentheses 1 plus 0.03917 0.0375 over 12 for the 12 months to the 12 times 30 because of the 30-year agreement, all over 0.0375 over 12. We are trying to find R in this case. Once you have this question set up, if I do this to you, 500,000 over 1, okay, all of a sudden it becomes a cross multiplication problem. So the 500,000 is going to get cross multiplied by that 0.0375 over 12. And then R is going to be by this other thing to the 360. I'm going to do that because I figured out the math. So you'll want to do that cross multiplication, right? $500,000 times 0.0375 divided by 12. That comes out to be 1562.5. Hang on. 30 seconds. And if you're trying to find R, what's the last thing you got to do?
Multiply by that.
Not multiply. I'm trying to get R by itself. Divide. I want to divide by that whole piece. That will tell me how much Rob is going to pay each month, okay, towards this loan, towards paying back this house loan. So you're going to have to divide by. So you're going to have to use your parentheses real carefully when you divide to make sure that it makes sense. All right, have a good afternoon. Make sure that you use parentheses properly. Before you do that, go back and add the negative that I forgot, because this is a loan, and so we got to have a negative by our 360 and all of our powers. So do that before you, here we go, calculate the loan investment payment rate, what he's going to have to pay back every month. Okay, make sure you do that first.